What's going on, Neon Nation, and welcome back to the Neon Arcade for some more Cyberpunk 2077 news. Today we have a ton of info for you guys, including some revelations via Cyberpunk 2077 products, highlighting 2 new gangs and some connections we've made about them, the writing of Cyberpunk 2077 and just how much dialogue there actually is, an interesting statistic comparing CD Projekt Red and NASA in 2020, and much more. Starting off this news episode, we have some new details about how much dialogue is in the game, some new characters, and some revelations about things that have carried over from the Cyberpunk lore via publication in Poland. In an interview with Marcin Blacha, the story director at CD Projekt Red, he mentions that, quote, "From a creator's perspective, Cyberpunk 2077 is a story about heroes in opposition to the world." He goes on to mention that for him, everything is on a much grander scale than the stories of small human dramas in The Witcher, and that his favorite characters to write were torn by internal drama, which gives him the opportunity to create emotional dialogue. Without going into too much detail, he says, "I can reveal that on my list of favorite heroes, I have a certain prisoner who wants to achieve his life goal in one day while on release, an AI that runs an entire taxi company, and a clever girl who stands behind the counter in an esoteric shop but also works as a nurse." I know they aren't giving away too many new characters, but the prisoner character is a new one we haven't heard of yet. We already kind of know that Delamain is the AI who runs the combat taxi business, as seen in the CGI trailer, and we've seen Misty, who's presumably the girl referenced, as working in the esoteric shop, but again, the prisoner is a new one and seems to want to tell a very interesting main or side story. Moving on in the interview, Blacha mentions that, quote, "We avoided neologisms, which are newly coined words, in the dialogue, but we often gave new meaning to known terms." The characters talk about, quote, "full conversions," meaning the exchange of the biological body for the electromechanical body, and when they say optics, they usually refer to electronic sight implants. This is pretty interesting because it's the first time a Red has referenced full conversions. It seems like they have readapted the language to fit with their vision of 2077, but we could be seeing some form of full body conversions from the lore. Now, if you'd like to know more about these FBCs, I'll link a video in the top right hand corner and in the description. Blacha also mentions that the story occupies 4 large books and another 2 whole volumes of directional comments to go alongside them. This is absolutely insane, and to really feel the scope of this, we're just gonna have to wait and play it. Before we get into the 2 new gangs and some new vehicles found, I want to mention that Cyberpunk 2077 is nominated yet again for a Most Anticipated Game Award, this time by the Fun and Serious Game Festival. There'll be a link in the description and pinned comment if you'd like to vote for Cyberpunk. Moving on, we have our new details about 2 new gangs. A while ago, the World of Cyberpunk 2077 lore book was released onto Amazon for pre-orders, which would come out post-launch and bring us up to speed on the events and characters of the World of Cyberpunk 2077. Now, recently a collector's edition has been posted, but with some intriguing new details. In the promotional picture, we see stickers on the right side featuring the gangs we already know and love, the Animals, the Voodoo Boys, and the Valentinos, which we haven't seen too much of yet. In the bottom right corner, however, we have 6th Street and their logo, as well as the Mox in the top right corner. Now, there's not too much to be said about 6th Street, but there is a further connection with the Mox. Looking at the cover, we also see the Mox with the Lizzie Wizzy logo or skull. Now, how do I know this is a Lizzie Wizzy logo or skull? Because Cyberpunk 2077 has offered pre-order bonuses via various retailers featuring Lizzie Wizzy's keychain, which sports the exact same logo. Judging by this, I think Chrome pop star Lizzie Wizzy is somehow associated to the Mox. At the bottom, we also have a couple cars on the left which we have seen, and 2 on the right which we have not. On the left, we have the luxury vehicle from the Neo Kitsch poster, and below it we have the yellow Quadra we've seen in the deep dive. On the right, however, we have a new vehicle in the top corner, as well as a truck with the logo of Thornton underneath, which we can see as presumably a car manufacturer in the cityscape. We have seen Thornton Drift Club on the Cyberpunk 2077 official steelbook, so this is a potential sign of some sort of racing event hosted by Thornton. Now, just to be clear, this is just my speculation. In this promotional image, we also do have a brief look at the section of the map from a bird's eye view. Take a moment to see how the Metro map actually overlaps onto this map quite nicely. Moving on, check out the new statue in the CDPR Warsaw studio. It features the same statue as what comes in the collector's edition of Cyberpunk, just a little bit more life-sized. CDPR is really pulling out all the stops and dropping some serious coin, it seems. Speaking of dropping some serious coin, we also have an article that oddly enough showed off how much CDPR is worth by comparing it to NASA's 2020 budget. Apparently CDPR is worth almost 1/3 of NASA's 2020 budget, with being worth an estimated $6.5+ billion. This also pegs it as worth as much as roughly 4 of the largest energy companies in Poland. It's kind of an odd monetary barometer for CDPR, but you gotta admit it's kinda cool at the same time. As always, thank you guys for watching, and consider supporting the channel by checking out the links in the description, including merch and memberships. And for more Cyberpunk, join Neon Nation by subscribing to the Neon Arcade.